You are welcome back to Introduction to AutoCAD. This is the third video in our introduction to AutoCAD. Now, before we start drawing, let me show you 6 things you may likely want to do. Number 1, you may want to set your workspace. Set workspace. I think we have done that already. So you come to this sprocket sprocket looking tool under our, now I call this one drafting setting toolbar. Under drafting setting toolbar, you set workspace. So I'm under drafting and annotation. Then number 2 thing you want to do, you want to turn off grid. You want to turn off grid line, which formerly it was like this, and I've done that. Then number 3 thing is that you want to set drafting setting tools. You want to set them. Now, these are the drafting setting tools. For beginner, I recommend that you enable polar tracking. That is 1. Enable object snap tracking, enable object snap, and disable every other one. Like I'm going to disable this. When you disable them, they turn gray in color, but when you enable them, they are blue in color. So I think you can see that. So that is number 3 thing you want to do. Then number 4, you want to set units. Very, very important. You want to set unit. Now, in what unit are you drawing? Many students become frustrated there. When you draw, when they think they are drawing a 100 millimeter line, the line appears very big, because in actual sense AutoCAD is taking them to be drawing 100 inches, because the default unit of AutoCAD is inches and feet. So you need to change that. You need to do that first of all before you begin to draw. These are the things you do before you attempt to draw. It may sound funny, but that is it. Okay, how do you do that? You come to, I'm going to be teaching you both typing command and using button. AutoCAD is a combination of what we call character user interface, that is CUI, or graphical user interface, that is GUI. I believe you are familiar with that term. So in AutoCAD we make use of these two. It's either you type command, that's character user interface, or you click buttons, that is graphical user interface. So we are going to be using both in AutoCAD. So when you want to set unit, that is where we are. We are setting unit. Okay, you type units. AutoCAD doesn't care whether you combine small capital letters in your command. Type units. What do you have? You have drawing unit dialog box. Let's close it. Or you come to application button. Under application button, you go to drawing utilities and you click on units. You are going to have the same thing. Now the question is, which one is faster? That is an answer for you to do. So I will click unit. I think I prefer this quick one. Type unit and what you have comes up. Now, a lot of things are going on here. Well, I believe you are going to leave your length in decimal. I recommend that, because when you change your length to architectural, it's going to give you the length in a fractional form and so on. Then precision. Well, I would recommend you leave it the way it is, so that for people in computer engineering, they want to draw very tiny component that is 0.000 something. So that means the length, all your length, will be rounded up to 4 decimal places. That is the meaning of precision here. If you want it in whole number, you pick this. If you want it in 1 decimal place, you pick that. So let's leave it in default. For the angle, you leave it as a decimal degree. And for the angle, I think it's better we have 30 degrees, 60 degree. I think most of the time we don't usually have 60.2 degree or 30.4 degree. But if your drawing demands that, you can set the precision of your angle to 1 decimal, 2 decimal, or 4 decimal places. But let's leave it as whole number. That is the meaning of this 0. Now we have clockwise. What does that mean? AutoCAD measures angle from 3 o'clock. That means your 0 start from 3 o'clock in AutoCAD. In most textbooks, they leave it the way it is. So, but if you want to overwrite that, okay, let me come again. You measure angle from 3 o'clock in AutoCAD, and you measure it anti-clockwisely. That is, you go back opposite to the direction of the clock. So in AutoCAD, if a line is on 12 o'clock, that is 90 degree. The line is at angle 90 degree. If a line is on 9 o'clock, that line is at angle 180 degree. So you may want to choose to override that or not. And if you want to do that, you enable clockwise. That means AutoCAD will start measuring your angle from 3 o'clock clockwisely. But I'm going to talk about direction here. If you click on direction, you may want AutoCAD to start measuring your angle from the north. That is 12 o'clock of the clock. So you select no, that's 270 degree for AutoCAD, or 12 o'clock. But I would prefer you leave it as the default, and I would prefer you disable this. So let's stick to AutoCAD default. Our angle start from 3 o'clock and we measure backward, that is anti-clockwisely. Now the main thing is here. This is the major thing we are setting in this dialog box. We are trying to set the unit. I told you by default AutoCAD measures angle in inches. So all you need to do is to click here. You see we have a lot of units. We have miles, millimeters, centimeter, inches, feet, and so on. In engineering, all dimensions in millimeter. In architecture, they may prefer feet. For astronomers, they may prefer astronomical distance, very high distance. But we are going to select millimeters in our own case here. Within the scope of this training, millimeters. And as from now, any line you draw is in millimeters. Take note of this. By default, AutoCAD is set to work in inches. So you have to be sure that your unit is in millimeters. Then we have lighting. By the time you advance your drawing, you may come to a point that you want to render your drawing to give you a realistic view. So you have to set lighting either to US or international to know where the shadow will fall to, and so on. So this is what we do under units. So I'm going to say OK, and believe me, your unit is set. Let's try to draw a line from here to here. I press enter. Now this line, let's say I want to check the distance. I will come to utilities. Under the home tab we have draw panel. The ribbon associated with home tab is divided into draw panel, modify, annotation, layers, and so on. Then you come under utilities, you select measure. Then under measure you select distance. So you want to know the distance from here to here. So you see the small square appearing, helping us to pick the exact point. That is objects now. So the distance we have here is 28.3175. Now AutoCAD command window is divided into two sections. We have the white area and the gray area. The gray area, this area I'm highlighting, this area will give you extra information. The white area will give you the basic information and accept command from you. So the information we are receiving, the distance is 28.3175. But in what unit? Since you have set your unit, the unit is in millimeter. So that is it. And the best way to be sure that your distance is actually set, that your unit is actually set, is by going back to AutoCAD here, drawing utilities, you click on units, or you press escape button to clear your command, and you type units. Alright, what do we have? Millimeters. It's no more in inches, so you may have to check that to be sure that your unit is in millimeter. Very, very important. So that is number 4 thing you do. Number 5, you may want to set limits. Set limits. Why do we need to set limits? For example, if you want to make a drawing that the maximum length of your drawing is maybe 1000 millimeter, and the maximum width is 500 millimeter. In order for AutoCAD not to make your drawing to fall out of space, you may have to set limits. How do you do that? You come to command window, you type limits in plural, you press enter. AutoCAD will ask you for the lower left corner, the lower left corner of your limit is usually 0,0. I have 0.00 because our precision is in 4 decimal places. So you accept the default. Like I said the other time, any option in angular bracket is the default. If I type 0,0, is the same thing. So if I don't type anything, I press enter, it means I have accepted my lower left corner to be 0,0. Now, if the maximum distance in my drawing is 1000 millimeter, I need to specify the upper right corner. The command has changed to upper right corner. By default, it was 12 by 9. But if the maximum width is 1000, I will type 1000, but the maximum height is 500. I will type 500. So it's going to be 1000, 500. I will press enter. So when I draw any line, AutoCAD will make sure that my drawing falls within the limit that I've set. So let's type limits again, limits. So you see, the lower left corner is 0,0, press enter. You see, it's now recognizing my upper right corner, which is 1000 by 500, as I have it here. So that is number 5 thing you do. Number 6, I would recommend you perform zoom. Perform zoom. All right, so let's see that. Okay, let me try to do something. Let me draw a line. Okay, another issue. The other time I said that all this line, the arc following my lines and all these boxes coming up, I have to turn it off because it's making my drawing to be slow. So let me press escape button and come to command window. There is a command we use to disable dynamic input, because all those boxes coming up, they are dynamic input tools. I don't like them. They slow my drawing, and it's trying to show me the angle at which I'm drawing. It's trying to show me that I can type my command in this box, show me the next point, and so on. So let's turn it off. There is a command we use, we call it DYN mode. DYN mode. If I press enter, my dynamic mode is in level 3. So let's change it to level 0 and press enter. So if I start line command the other time, I'm not going to see any box again. So if I click, I can smoothly click. I know my drawing is smoother. I can track this, find the intersection, then come here. Okay, so I have a smoother drawing now because I have set my DYN mode, dynamic mode. I've set it to 0. It was formerly 3. Just type 0 and press enter. So that is disabled. Now, why do we need to perform zoom? That is the 6th thing you do before you start drawing. Now, I say you set workspace, turn off grid lines, set draft setting tools, set unit, set limit, perform zoom. Now, if I draw a line, and my line appears to, okay, let me give example. Let me start a line drawing. L. I type here, and I type maybe 900. Now you see, I don't know where the line 100 length ends. I don't know. So I will press escape. So I have to do zoom in. Zoom in is important in AutoCAD. If you are using external mouse, you just scroll on your, I'm trying to scroll, I'm using external mouse, I'm scrolling using the scroll button, scrolling in and out to zoom. But let's say you can't do that and you can't see all your drawing. So all you need to do is to type Z. Type Z, press enter, that is zoom. Then when you press enter, zoom command will give you many options like all, center, dynamic, extent, preview, scale, window, object. Now the default is real time. The default is real time. If you accept that, so if you don't pick any option, you accept, you press enter, it's going to turn your cursor to a magnifying glass, and you press left button on your keyboard, you drag in and drag out. So that is zoom real time. But we are not doing zoom real time. I want to see all my drawing. So what do? I've pressed escape to escape that. So you come back to command window, you type Z. Z stands for zoom. You press enter. Then I want to see all the drawings. So I will type letter A. AutoCAD recognizes the first letter of the options. And you will notice that the letters are painted. They are painted in blue color in my own version here. So if I type letter A, that means I want to do zoom all. So I press enter. What do you notice? The whole length of the drawing is on the screen. That is the whole length is on the screen. So if I type Z again, I press enter. This time around I want to do zoom real time. I'll press enter, then I'll begin to drag in and out to make it appear smaller. Then you can do zoom again, type Z, press enter. This time around you can select window, W. So we use that to look at a particular section of our drawing. So I will just draw a window around there. It's going to zoom, it's going to expand that section. So these are the 6 things you do before you start drawing, and once you get familiar with them, things become easy for you. I will stop here. In the next video, we are going to start with coordinate system and begin to draw. Thank you for listening.